Storm, earth, and fire, heed my call.
What's up everyone, it's Waves and today I want to talk to you guys about abandoning the thought of meta. So you all know what it is, right? The meta, you see it everywhere. There's tier lists, what's good, what's bad, S tier spec, this is insane, D tier spec, unplayable, you will never get into a group, stuff like that, right? Essentially what it comes down to is you have a bunch of people that have information about the game, about what's going to be strong, what's not going to be strong, and essentially they just tell you how to play the game, right? And the main idea is you pick whatever is good, and therefore you have a way easier time to get the rewards that you're trying to get. So what re-rolling to a quote meta spec is basically just like a shortcut to getting the reward that you're trying to get. And what that means is that it just shows that the player base and pretty much everyone is just playing for the reward. No one really cares anymore about like playing the game and like how fun it will be to get to the reward. It's just like, okay, how can I get the reward the easiest? If it's not the spec that I enjoy playing, if it's not even the role I enjoy playing, if it's just something that's currently strong and it seems to be the easiest way or the path of least resistance to get it, that's what I'm gonna pick. And I personally think that there's a big issue with that. So basically it means that the whole journey of like getting to the goal is becoming irrelevant. People are not playing the game for playing the game anymore. So yeah, it's only the goal that matters. And in my opinion, a video game is supposed to be fun and you shouldn't have to like, quote, suffer through the gameplay, right? Because I have a lot of people regularly come into my stream and I talk to people from all kinds of skill levels. I have people that get the rank 1 title in Mythic Plus regularly. They do cutting edge raiding. I also have people from a mid-level of skill where they're decent players, right? They understand what they're doing. They can do 20, 22 keys pretty regularly, but they won't get the rank 1 title. Maybe some people that only rate heroic. I also have some people that are new to the game. So we have like a vast majority in the range of people that have a very well understanding of the game. And also some below that just get into the game though. So yeah, very diverse mixture of people. And yeah, they always ask me, Waves, what can you recommend for me to play next patch or next expansion or whatever it is, right? And I always say, just play what you think is fun. For everything you're doing, for, again, generally speaking, right, for 99.99% of people, for whatever you're doing, it doesn't matter what spec you play. And that's what I'm repeating myself. Because what most meta players do is, and again, there are exceptions to everything. There might be people that reroll to a new spec every patch and they're this good at the game that they pick up the spec very easily. They get rank 1 title every single season on whatever spec they want. But I'm talking to the vast majority of players, right? Generally speaking, it will look like this. You approach a new patch, you look at some tier list with some clickbait title, you see this is supposed to be OP. Anything below that, be it B tier, C tier, D tier, literally implayable. You will never get invited to a group. So you play what's S tier. That's not what you enjoy? No one cares, right? You play it anyways. So you pick the spec, you get decent at it, because again, for most people, one patch is not enough for them to be good enough at a spec to actually consistently get a rank 1 title, for example, if we're talking Mythic Plus, right? So they get decent at it, they don't reach their goal, because if we're being honest, right, if you play a meta spec, it's almost easy enough to where you load in and you already have KSM or even more score, like by default. It's just, you know, you get into any key you want anyways, because the mentality of the player base is burned in like that, oh, meta spec, I pick. You know, it doesn't matter the experience the dude has or whatever, right? You literally just pick it because it's meta. So you load in with KSM anyways. So what's the next step? Like, what's the next goal? Either people pick a number, like 3k for example, or they go for the rank 1 title. So again, back to what happens for most people, they pick the spec, they play it, they don't even enjoy it, they get decent at it, but they won't reach the goal of getting rank 1. And then next patch, something else is gonna be broken. So they re-roll again. And then what? What happens? So you let someone else decide what you play, you didn't have fun doing it, you spent months doing it, you won't reach your goal, and then you're like, example, maybe it's a season where Windwalker monks are very broken for keys. You are Windwalker monk number 7000, didn't reach your goal, no one cares, you're disappointed because you didn't reach your goal, and then once you re-roll again for the next patch, you lose all the progress you made. Sure, there's like game knowledge, game sense, skill that's like universal to every spec that you will keep, but essentially speaking, like your all of your Windwalker stuff in that example, right? You will lose. And then next patch, I don't know, maybe you're an Alley Shaman or you're a Destruction Warlock or whatever, right? Whatever happens to be the best, you're gonna be dead instead. And you're gonna start essentially from zero again. So yeah, it just becomes this cycle of like re-rolling to something else and never becoming great at anything, right? You might be decent, you might be good, but you will never be great at anything because you don't put the time and effort in that is required for you to become great at something. And I think that's an issue. And a lot of the time when I say exactly what I'm saying right now in the video, when I say that to people in my stream, I hear a lot of the time that I don't have a lot of time to play the game, right? So there are people that will tell me they, for example, they have 3 to 4 hours a week to play the game. And yeah, they reroll to a meta spec because it's path of least resistance. It's the shortcut essentially to get what they try to get, which is like most of the time the rank 1 title. And to that argument, I'm saying, I'm sorry. I understand that you rolling a meta spec will be the shortcut essentially. But first of all, if you only have 3 to 4 hours a week to put into a hobby, whatever that might be, I'm sorry to say, but my opinion is you shouldn't be able to become the best or get the highest reward. Like, people that put more time and more effort into it should always get more or get rewarded more than you do if you don't put that time in. And I'm not trying to say that there aren't any people that, you know, have jobs and families and demanding things and, you know, take time off of their life so they don't have a lot of time to play. That's perfectly fine. But you can't expect to get what people get that put more time into the game, right? But it's this whole thing that the game is so bloated with rewards and all that people care about is just getting the reward. It doesn't matter how they get there, just give me the reward. And I don't really want to play the game much for it. I don't care if I have fun or not, just give me the reward. That mentality paired with only meta is playable, nothing else. If you play a different spec, we won't invite you. It doesn't matter if you're like 1,000 radar IO above me. If you play a spec that's in B tier or C tier by some YouTuber, you better believe you're not getting into my key. And that's the fundamental issue, right? So it's pretty much a mixture of multiple things going wrong, in my opinion. And personally speaking, I think we need to get rid of that mindset. And I talked about this on stream a couple of times as well, and people told me that you can't change it. It is burned into people's brain. There are hundreds of YouTubers, content creators, streamers that make tier lists, and they make it clickbaity. They make it sound like this is broken, this is OP, do this if you want to do big damage in raid. If you play this, you better just skip the season. This is dog shit, this is trash. Like, it's the way of wording it, right? And I always say it's not each individual thing creating the problem, it's the combination of them. Someone making a tier list is not the issue, right? Like, for example, Doki would be a very good example. He makes a tier list, and S tier, he still calls it meta, but I think it's like B or C tier or whatever. The lowest tier of the tier list is called viable. And that's essentially what it is. Because you can And I guarantee you, and with that we get to the next chapter of the video, which is my alternative idea, a concept of fun, and like why you should play the game and how I think it would be healthy to play the game, is play what you enjoy, because everything is viable. It is. Like, class balancing is so close together that I can guarantee you from personal experience, there is nothing in the game that 99.99% of players can't reach because they play a certain spec. It's just like that, right? Like, for example, if you want to get the rank 1 title for Mythic Plus, you can do it on any spec. If you want to get into a top rating guild, you can do it on every spec. It might take more time and effort to get there, depending on balancing and depending on like community perception of specs and classes and whatever, that's true. But you can get there, period. If you can't, then you either didn't put enough effort in, or you're maybe not good enough at the spec because you didn't put enough time in or whatever, right? So in my opinion, if you find something, like for example, you're new to the game, right? You try out every spec, you find something that's very fun for you, you will have fun playing it. And you know what that means? You will enjoy playing it more. And if you play it more, you will improve more. It will get easier, you will get better, and you know, it goes on like that. Then again, obviously there might be very, very, very minor things that you cannot reach on a certain spec, right? Like, there will always be a meta. It doesn't matter how close the balancing is, there will always be the best composition, right? But I'm talking to you specifically, and I bet money 99.9% of people watching this right now. Why do you care? Like, there might be a difference of 1, at max 2 key levels that you can't do on a spec, right? And I'm talking 1 spec, right? Obviously, I'm not saying you can fill an entire M+ group with specs that are considered poorly balanced or, quote, bad, right? This season. You probably can't fill the entire group with specs that are underperforming, so to say, and reach everything, right? But if you have a group with like good specs, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be the best, but just like good specs. And then you put someone that's really good at a spec that's supposed to be the underdog and like, you know, lower in the tier lists of whoever's making the tier lists. You can still get everything done that you want to get done. The highest key in the world might be, as an example, right, a 30. And then as the spec that you want to play because you have fun playing it, maybe the highest you can get is a 29 or a 28, right? Trust me, there's not going to be people timing a 30, and just because you play the other spec, you're going to be stuck on a 25. That's not going to be the case. If that's the case, then it might be again because you're not getting invited into higher keys because you're playing that spec. But please take notes here, okay? You not getting invited because you play a certain spec is not your fault. It's the community's mindset that's the issue, okay? You not getting invited is the result of the problem. It is not the problem, okay? There's a big difference. And I think that's very important because people think that they're supposed to reroll. No, you're not supposed to reroll. You're supposed to play this game, which is supposed to be fun, the way that you have the most fun. And then if you want to reach something that is difficult to reach, well, you just get better at the spec you're playing. And therefore you can reach it and still play what you enjoy doing, right? And I'm not just saying that as in like, oh, surely this must be possible, right? I've pugged an entire season during Shadowlands to where I was the highest ranked enhancement shaman in the world at the end of the season. And I pugged, right? And yes, it was a season where enhancement was considered very bad. And I sat in the LFG tool for hours and hours on end. Like endless times I was sitting and getting declined and getting invited, and then they were like, oh, are you an LE player? And I was like, no, I'm Enhance. I got kicked again, you know? I put the time and effort in, and I'm not saying that it should be the case that you sit for 8 hours to play 1 key. I'm not saying that that's what it's supposed to be at all. I'm just saying it's possible, and it will get easier if we get it to where the mindset of people changes a little bit. Because right now, it's completely scuffed. Like, let's be real. So I've done that, right? And I've also done it in seasons where I had a pre-made, obviously. Yeah, that makes it easier, but just like that, it was also possible. We played a group where there was nothing really meta. Maybe like 2 specs out of 5 were considered meta at the time. We still got the rank 1 title just like that, relatively easy. And I never regretted playing what I thought was fun. And if I couldn't reach something, or if it became difficult for me to get into some content, I just saw it as I have to improve, to show people how good it can be. And even though no one was playing Enhance at the time that I picked it up, right? Especially during BFA, I did a lot of like Enhance stuff. No one was playing Enhance at that time, right? And it really helped me knowing that it can be done. Because like when I got into a hierarchy that I hadn't done before, I performed really well. Then afterwards people would be like, wait, I thought Enhance is supposed to be bad. How come you do a lot of damage on Enhance, right? And that showed me that people just don't know. People literally act like sheep most of the time. They see the tier list, they're like, all right, these specs below B tier don't exist in my brain, right? You better don't believe they get into a key. And so they don't even know that those specs can be good if you have a player that plays them like really good, or to the maximum, like how you're supposed to play it. So yeah, it's not good the way that it is right now. So yeah, every step towards your goal will be fulfilling and rewarding if you play what's fun, right? Because every time you improve, it will be rewarding because you had fun doing it and you got better at what you have fun doing. So yeah, you have steady skill improvements instead of just losing your progress and resetting all of your skill every season again, right? So way more rewarding, way more fun as well. And that also makes you understand your spec a little bit more. You maybe can get into theory crafting, into coming up with your own build, into being creative again in the game, right? Because that's essentially what it is. You get an understanding of the class. You get you become a class expert instead of some flavor of the month reroller. Like I've just recently started to play some keys again. Like I'm getting holy paladins in my key, where we die to rotting damage a couple of times in the key. We get to the last boss, and the paladin has yet to use aura mastery the entire key. He's used like 2 bobs or 2 sacks the entire key, and it's like, you're 3400 raid IO. Like how, right? And it's because they play a meta spec. That's the shortcut I'm talking about. They baseline load in with like 3k score because they get invited to every key and then they get carried by the rest of the group. And it's like, you know, you can clearly see what the issue is. And yeah, I just said people are sheep, and I just want to make clear there's a huge difference, gigantic difference, between you gathering information from other people, you're looking at a guide, you're asking a streamer, you joining a class Discord and asking questions and stuff like that. Gathering information, very good. Blindly following what everyone else says or what someone else says, not good. If you take the information, then think about it and add your own knowledge, and then, you know, that's good. If you just literally look at, oh, what are they doing? Oh, I'm just gonna do the same. Not good, right? So if you go to a tier list and you see this is OP, this is C tier, D tier, and you take that as only this can be played and all of this down here is not part of the game anymore, you're doing it wrong, okay? So yeah, I can guarantee you there is a chance, there is a place, there's a way for all of you. No matter what you play, no matter what spec you play, you will have the chance to reach pretty much everything in the game, period. All right, so talked a lot about the issues and how I think things should be, but that's very easy, right? Saying, oh, this is wrong and this is my opinion how it should be. But now, what needs to change? How do we get there, basically, right? So, first of all, it is very, very, very difficult to change an entire player base's mindset. I'm aware of that. I know it's literally tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of people that think that way, that have that mindset burned into their brain. However, I'm pretty sure, and I've noticed this from talking on my stream, that there are people that think the way that I think. So if I get it started, if I put the video out there, and you guys can type in the comment if you feel the same way, or if you see it different, or if I missed some arguments or points maybe that could be made for the argument I'm trying to make, right? Type it in the comments. I would like to see some discussion going on there. And yeah, so if I started and you guys jump in, and then maybe it spreads like a wildfire, right? Maybe we get a domino effect going, and then maybe we can make a difference. Because yeah, again, there's multiple little things that aren't really an issue by themselves, but the way that they are perceived just make it into a huge problem in the community. There's countless people that quit the game or get into the game, but then they don't stick to the game. Because like, how fun is that, right? You get into the game, someone tells you need to play this, otherwise you won't get to play the game. And then either you do that and you don't have fun, so you quit, or you say, fuck it, you play what you think is fun. But then because the community's mindset is so broken, you actually don't get to play the game and you quit. And you know what happens when people quit and no new people get into the game? At some point, we won't have people to play the game with anymore. And at the end of the day, this is the video game we're playing. This is what we have fun with and we want to play it, right? So we need to make sure that we have new people get into the game and the old people or the older players stay in the game, right? So yeah, it's very important that everyone puts things into perspective and use their brain. That's very important if we want things to change. If you see something like a tier list video or whatever, you know, just use your brain. See it as what it really is and not what someone wants you to get clickbaited into. It would be nice, talking about clickbait, if people would cut the bullshit a little bit. I know it gives you a lot more views if you say that something is omega broken and something is absolutely fucking terrible and cannot be played. That does give you more clicks probably than if you say, oh, this is slightly better than this. But maybe it's more hurtful for the community than you think it is, and maybe you making a couple of euros more or less. You know, I think some people could just cut the bullshit a little bit, right? And then a very big thing that needs to change is you. You watching the video right now, you've probably been in some way, you've been a contribution to this mindset being the case. Maybe not everyone, but most of you guys will. Most of you guys will maybe share the mindset of the community that, you know, that the meta is the only thing that matters and nothing else can work. If that's the case, then just think about how you stand when it comes to this topic, right? Maybe you don't agree with me, maybe you do agree with me, or maybe you just realized that you do agree with me. Or maybe it's a topic that you never thought about and now I got you to think a little bit about it. So yeah, either way, I mean, just saying, think about it. Maybe we can change something. I think it's a very important point that we start having fun again. Maybe this video is helpful for you if you're trying to pick a spec or a class for 10.2. Maybe you wanted to go for the next broken meta spec, and maybe now you think about it a little bit deeper and maybe go for something that's more fun than the shortcut to success. So yeah, anyways, thank you guys for watching. I'm looking forward to seeing your comments. And yeah, if you want to talk to me live about all this kind of stuff, you can find the link to my Twitch maybe somewhere on stream right now, on screen right now, or in the video description, right? All right, then I hope you guys take care. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the live stream or in the next video or wherever. Peace.